The operating system of the modern nation-state, specifically the Westphalian model established in the 17th century, has encountered a fatal exception error. This is not a warning. This is not a forecast. This is a diagnostic report of a system that has already crashed. I am here to present the physical reality that the contract forming the basis of your reality is void.
Hold on. I need to jump in here because I am taking the opposing side to defend our institutional framework, and you can't just launch into a broadcast with a declaration that civilization is dead.
It is precise. I am talking about physics, not politics. The exchange of security and infrastructure for a monopoly on violence and tax revenue. That contract is broken. The modern state is now a bug. It is characterized by resource dependency limits that have been exceeded, self-propagating debt structures that function indistinguishably from Ponzi schemes, and the total evaporation of trust.
You're talking about the collapse of the global order as if it's a blue screen of death on a laptop. It's incredibly reductionistic. We are here to debate the state of global geopolitics, sure, but you are dismissing the most complex system humans have ever built as a computer glitch?
The leadership class of the modern world are currently behaving like elementary school children. They have found fragile, rotting twigs on the roadside.
Twigs?
Yes. They are waving them around in the mud, believing them to be legendary swords. They believe these twigs fiat currency, empty policy mandates, borderlines drawn on maps, possess kinetic power. They think because they declare this is my kingdom, the universe obeys, but they are completely powerless against the giant evil of physical resource depletion. You are watching children play pretend while a hurricane makes landfall.
That is an incredibly nihilistic and, frankly, dangerous way to frame the world. We are not children playing with twigs. Look around you. The traffic lights are working, the courts are in session, people are filing their taxes and receiving benefits. You're calling the state a hallucination just because the economy is facing headwinds? That is absurd.
Social stability is a delay tactic. It is a latency issue in the rendering of the crash.
We have social stability. We have institutions that have lasted centuries. For 8 billion people, the state is the only thing keeping chaos at bay.
You claim institutions are resilient. You cite the traffic lights. That is residual momentum. Look at the Soviet Union in 1991. That was a total operating system crash. The logic of the state evaporated overnight. The hardware, the land, the people, the factories remained, but the software the Union simply ceased to execute. One day it was a superpower, the next day the contract was void.
That is a total false equivalency. You cannot compare the G7 nations or the integrated global economy of 2026 to the Soviet Union. The Soviet Union fell because of central planning and efficiency. We have market mechanisms. We have self-correcting systems.
You have the exact same disease, just a different incubation period. Look at Somalia since 1991. That is a functional evaporation. The government twig is held by no one, and warlords fight with sticks. You say the West is different? Most current nations are simply Venezuela or Zimbabwe in slow motion.
No,
they are in zombie states. They are effectively dead entities held together by international finance. The IMF, the World Bank, these institutions act as scotch tape. They are trying to tape together a broken, rotting twig and tell the population it is still a sword.
You call it scotch tape. I call it liquidity and stabilization. The IMF prevents humanitarian disasters. When a country faces a balance of payments crisis, that financing keeps hospitals open. It keeps the power grid running. Calling struggling nations zombies is, well, it's insulting to the millions of people working through debt crises to rebuild their societies. It's not a broken twig, it's a safety net. As long as a state provides identity and order, it is not broken. It is stressed, yes, but human institutions are resilient because we believe in them.
Your belief is irrelevant to the ledger. The universe does not accept IOUs. The international community does not fear state collapse out of humanitarianism. They fear it because they lose a debtor. A vanished state pays no interest.
That's incredibly cynical.
It is math. The system preserves the form of the state solely to maintain the fiction of the debt ledger. If the state dissolves, the liability vanishes. So they prop up the corpse, they pump electricity into the muscles to make it twitch, and they call it governance. It is a simulation of life to service a debt that can never mathematically be repaid.
This is pure conspiracy theory cloaked in technical jargon. If states are just broken twigs, if they are just fictions maintained for debt collection, then explain the geopolitical reality we see right now. Look at Ukraine. Look at Russia. If the state is a hallucination, why is Russia fighting a massive, incredibly expensive war to control Ukrainian territory?
You are falling for the narrative layer, not the physical layer.
If your logic held, Russia would just buy a cheap, failed state somewhere else. The fact that they are fighting, dying, and spending billions proves that sovereignty and history matter. It proves the nation is real.
You are looking at the map and seeing Russia and Ukraine. I am looking at the map and seeing energy gradients. Russia is not trying to buy a broken twig. They are not interested in acquiring a failed state with high maintenance costs and low output. A predator does not hunt a skeleton. Russia is attempting to seize a high-energy resource.
It's about history. It is about NATO expansion, cultural identity, and security buffers. You can't just strip away centuries of ethnic tension and geopolitical strategy and call it energy.
I can, and I must. It is strictly about metabolism. Ukraine represents black soil agriculture, the caloric basis of life. But more importantly, it represents lithium. It represents neon gas. Do you understand the significance of neon gas in 2026?
It's an industrial gas, it's a commodity, it's not a reason to launch a ground invasion.
It is the breath of the machine. Neon is required for the lasers in semiconductor lithography. You cannot print the microchips that run your AI, your power grid, or your weapon systems without it. Ukraine holds massive reserves. These are concentrated forms of metabolic energy required for Earth repair and industrial survival, just as a child playing in the mud does not pick up a rotten twig if they have a choice. A predator nation does not invade a resource-poor, failed state. They want the straight, hard branch. They want the raw resources. The war is not a validation of the nation-state concept. It is a resource raid, masked as a historical crusade.
You're reducing human conflict to calories and minerals. That ignores the human element entirely. But even if I humor you, Russia is failing in that regard. The West sanctioned them. Their economy should have collapsed if they are just predators cut off from the herd. But look at the 2026 numbers. I was actually waiting to bring this up.
I know you have the spreadsheet open. Read the numbers.
Gladly. Russia has 0.8% growth, low unemployment. The West sanctions failed to crush them. The speedometer on the Russian economy says the car is moving. If the system is broken, if the twig is snapped, why is their GDP going up? Why are there jobs?
Because they are engaged in Deadnomics.
Deadnomics? You're just making up terms now.
It is the only accurate description of the bug. The war has become the growth engine. Military Keynesianism is a lethal doping agent. Russia is currently chopping down the structural pillars of its own house to feed the fire in the living room. The fire is bright. The heat is intense. You look at the thermometer and say, look, the temperature is rising, the economy is hot, but the house is collapsing because you are burning the load-bearing walls.
That's a poetic metaphor, but it is not economics. The reality is they are producing goods. Defense manufacturing is still manufacturing. Steel is being poured. Wages are being paid to workers. That is measurable economic activity.
It is not manufacturing, it is entropy acceleration. Let's trace the calorie. They're taking skilled labor, young men, and sending them to be deleted from the workforce. They're taking high-order minerals, titanium, microchips, and fabricating missiles, which are then exploded, returned to dust in a field in Donetsk. This is a closed loop of destruction. In a healthy economy, you build a tractor and it produces food for 20 years. In Deadnomics, you build a tank and it destroys value until it is destroyed itself.
But the money circulates. The workers at the tank factory spend their wages at the grocery store. They buy clothes. They pay rent. That is how an economy works. You You can't just say it doesn't count because you dislike the end product.
It counts as activity. It does not count as life support. This is the definition of the buying fallacy. Russia cannot buy Ukraine because they have been purged from the payment system. Their currency, twig, the ruble, is unrecognized by the host system. It has no magic left. So they dropped the twig and picked up a rock. Violence is the only transaction method left when your credit score hits 0. They are paying in blood because they cannot pay in SWIFT.
But it works. That is my point. You call it a bug, you call it entropy, but if they sustain it, it becomes reality. GDP is the objective measure of a nation's health, and if the GDP is up, the nation is healthy. You can't just redefine macroeconomics because you don't like war.
I do not need to redefine economics. I need to expose GDP for what it is. It is a destruction ledger. You are citing the speedometer on a car that is currently on fire and the gas tank has a hole in it.
A growing economy provides jobs. It puts food on the table. It signifies market confidence. GDP counts a missile explosion as growth. It counts a multi-car crash and the resulting emergency medical costs as activity. It counts the liquidation of a centuries-old forest as production. Let me give you an image so simple even the so-called adults in the central banks might understand it. Imagine a child who wants to be a superhero. He takes his shirt, his only protection against the cold, and he cuts it up with scissors to make a cape.
Okay, I'm listening.
He stands there, shivering, half naked in the snow, but he points to his back and says, "Look, my cape is huge. I have more fabric flapping in the wind than I did before." The surface area of the cape increases. That is your GDP growth. But the child freezes to death because he destroyed his clothing. That is your infrastructure and life support. You are celebrating the size of the cape while the body enters hypothermia. The defense industrial base is the cape. The demographics and the environment are the shirt.
That is a terrifying image, but are you seriously saying leaders are doing this on purpose? That's the part I just cannot accept. We have economists, we have experts, we have leaders who are adults. They are trying their best to rebuild after the supply chain crises, after the pandemic. They aren't malicious children cutting up their shirts. They are trying to keep the lights on. They are trying to navigate a soft landing.
They are not keeping the lights on. They are burning the furniture. This is intergenerational gaslighting. The adults are terrified. They know the foundation is rotten. They know the global debt is mathematically unpayable. But instead of admitting the system error, they build a bonfire. They secretly chop up the future resources, the pillars of the house, to make a bigger fire right now. And they tell the children, look how warm and bright it is. We are protecting you.
They are trying to maintain stability. If they told everyone the truth that the system is insolvent, as you claim, there would be panic. There would be anarchy. They are protecting us from that. We need that stability to transition to whatever comes next. You can't just pull the plug on the global economy. We need time to replant the forest.
You cannot replant the forest while you are actively burning the seeds. This is the delusion of the soft landing. The adults are handing down a legendary sword that is actually a twig eaten hollow by termites. The termites are debt and entropy. When the fire goes out, and it will go out, because you run out of furniture to burn, the children will be left in a roofless ruin. The adults will be gone. They will have cashed out.
So what is the alternative? You keep tearing down everything: GDP, the state, the economy, the very concept of growth. What replaces it? You talk about Earth restoration like it's a magic wand. Oh, we'll just fix the planet. How? With what money?
It is not magic. It is the only valid accounting method left to our species. We must switch to the operating system of circulatory capitalism.
Circulatory capitalism? That just sounds like a think tank buzzword for extreme austerity.
It is the exact opposite of austerity. It is the end of waste. In your current system, you mine, you consume, you discard. That is a straight line to death. Circulatory capitalism means the loop is closed. The only true profit is the concentration of resources and the restoration of the planet's metabolism.
Explain that. What do you mean by true profit?
True profit is a measurable increase in the carrying capacity of the biosphere. True debt is the increase of entropy, war, pollution, waste. By this metric, the modern economy is not growing. It is effectively committing suicide. Every dollar of GDP generated by burning fossil fuels or destroying topsoil is actually a debt that physics will collect. Circulatory capitalism demands that every output becomes an input. If you produce a missile that explodes, poof, gone. That is a capital leak. In a circulatory system, that is strictly prohibited.
But we can't just switch to that. You are talking about upending the entire human way of life. You're talking about ending consumption as we know it. The markets would collapse overnight. Pension funds would vanish.
The markets are already collapsing. You are just watching the slow motion replay. The planet is upending your way of life. You are arguing with gravity. You are standing on a cliff edge, arguing that falling is inconvenient for your schedule.
No, I am arguing for humanity. You can't just turn off the world. People believe in these systems. You call it a hallucination, but it is our reality. We need the fiction. We have to patch the twig. We have to believe it's a sword, otherwise we are just naked in the wilderness. You are asking us to give up hope. You're asking us to accept that everything we worked for, our savings, our borders, our identities, is totally meaningless.
I'm asking you to give up a delusion so that you might survive.
But the delusion works. It keeps the peace. It keeps global trade flowing. If we stop believing in the dollar or the nation tomorrow, the trucks stop moving, the food stops coming to the supermarkets. We need the transition to be slow. We need the adults in the room to figure this out. The adults have failed. That is the point of the date stamp, 2026. The Ponzi scheme of borrowing from the future has hit the physical wall. You can print money, but you cannot print lithium. You cannot print black soil. You cannot print a stable climate. The adults are paralyzed by pride and the fear of admitting their entire lives were built on a bug. They will tape that twig until it turns to dust in their hands.
It's not pride. It is survival. We are trying to survive. We are trying to keep the game going because the alternative is terrifying. Believing in the hallucination does not stop the physical laws of entropy. The collective hallucination of the nation-state is undergoing a forced liquidation by the planet itself. You have a choice. You can continue to invest in the twigs, the fictions, the GDP numbers, the empty promises of the state. You can stand in the burning house and admire the size of the fire, or you can switch to the operating system of life support.
But that means admitting everything we built was a lie. That means the end of our current civilization.
Correct. It is a liquidation event. Those who cling to the old definition of wealth, the paper, the borders, the debt, will vanish along with their assets. The only rational investment is in systems that restore the biosphere. The fire is dying. The roof is gone. The game is over.